Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and today I'm sitting by my fireside. It's winter and Christmas is coming. One of my lovely viewers had sent me a rather nice book that's called Rambles Round Willow Farm, and she said it was written over 100 years ago, and in fact there's an inscription on the inside that's dedicated to somebody as a gift, and the date is 1912. So this gives us an insight to what Willow Farm, I think maybe a fictional farm, is like 100 years ago. The book, I think, was aimed at children just from the way it's presented, but as an insight to what life was like 100 years ago in a rural West Country farm, I thought it'd be interesting to read some of it. And if you like it, I'll read more. So whilst I'm sitting here by the fireside, I shall attempt to read chapter 1. I'm not the world's greatest reader, so I might make a few mistakes. I'm intending not to put in the jump cuts and things that people often do so that it is absolutely perfect. So here we go. Chapter 1, Willow Farm. There is a farm in the county of the west of England, far away from any large town, where I am very fond of staying. Even when I'm not at Willow Farm, I like to talk about it, and to think of all that is going on in the folding yards and fields. I know the farmer and his wife very well. Their name is Hammond. I know too the farm labourers, the bailiff, William, the head waggoner, Shepherd, old George, Dan, and the others. And I know and I love the beautiful sleek cart horses and the cows and the sheep. I've often helped Mrs. Hammond with her ducks and hens and broods of chickens. I wish you could all see Willow Farm, but as you cannot, we will do the next best thing. We will make believe. We will try to imagine that we're really walking about the farm together. I dare say that you already know something about horses and cows and sheep, for you see them sometimes in large towns. What you cannot see in a large town is a field of corn growing, or a field of clover. So these and other crops which grow in the farmers' fields are what we will now pay most attention to. There are many fields at Willow Farm, more than a dozen altogether. Some are in meadows, some are meadows in which grass always grows. Horses and cows and sheep graze in these, and from some of them the farmer cuts hay every summer. There are orchards too, planted with apples and pear trees. Some of the apples are good enough to eat raw or to cook. The others, cider is made. Perry is made from pears. Many of the villages are arable, that is, fields which are ploughed every year and have a fresh crop sown in them. You know what some of the crops are? Corn, yes, corn, which includes wheat, barley and oats. What else? Potatoes. Quite right. In the country, people grow potatoes in their own gardens, so they have no need to buy them from the farmer. In large towns, there are few gardens in which to grow potatoes, so many farmers grow large crops of potatoes every year. These are bought by dealers and merchants who sell them again to town shopkeepers, and thus potatoes, which grew in some field far away in the country, appear on your table at dinner time in a large town. Then too the farmer grows turnips and swedes and mangolds for his sheep and cattle. Clover too, and cabbages are also grown. Some of the cabbages the farmer sells, and some are eaten by his cattle. He also grows peas and beans. Now, you do not need to be told that many of these things are very different from each other. They are different in appearance and different in the uses to which we put them. You know the difference between a potato, a cabbage, and a handful of wheat. And I think you've probably eaten all three. Of the cabbage, we eat the inner leaves, which form the heart. Of potatoes, we eat what is often called the root, though it's not really the root. And at all our meals, there is bread, which is made from farmer's wheat. All these things are grown by the farmer in his fields, and perhaps you think that's his way, and perhaps you think that his way of growing them is just the same. You think that the land is ploughed and the seed thrown in, and that's all the farmer has to do. You fancy that by and by the crop grows up, and then the farmer cuts his corn and digs up his potatoes. Our friend Mr. Hammond will tell you that his work is not as simple as that. To be sure, the ground must be ploughed for every crop, but even in that first piece of work, there is a difference. Some crops must have a very deep seedbed ploughed for them if they are to grow well. Others require only shallow ploughing. For some crops, the land must be worked a great deal before it's fit to receive the seed. It must be ploughed and scuffled, and sometimes harrowed and rolled several times. The weather too makes a great difference to the work which the farmer must do. Then there is the soil, that is the earth in the fields. Some soils vary very much, as we will see presently. Some soils will not grow certain crops at all, or only very poor ones. The farmer must do without those crops and grow something else instead. Nor can the farmer grow the same crop every year in the same field. When he rents or buys a farm, he cannot say, "Here is a nice large field. It's near the rickyard, so we shall have not far to bring the wagons of wheat. This shall always be my wheat field." That would be very convenient, but it would never do. If a farmer grows wheat in the big field one year, he must grow something else in it the next year, and something different again in the year after that. A farmer's work needs a great deal of careful thought and planning. And that's chapter 1. So it's interesting, isn't it, how 100 years ago, all of this work was done by hand, and all these different bits of knowledge had been absorbed and known and passed on from father to son, from father to son. And that is how they do it. How different it is today. If you enjoy that, I'm going to record the second chapter and you can have a look at that. And then if you request, I'll read some more. It's beautifully illustrated, and we can go through the book and determine what it was like to be a farmer 100 years ago. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Don't forget to follow, like and subscribe, and become a patron. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment, and I'll see you on the next one.